Algebra 1. Today we're looking at lesson 9-7, where we are now factoring special cases. Okay, and we have two different types of special case polynomials, or what we call special case polynomials. We have difference of squares, so that's where you're dealing with a binomial, and each one has perfect square roots. And then we'll be dealing with perfect square trinomials as well. Okay, so difference of squares. Again, that's where you have two terms. Both of them are your perfect squares that we have gone over before earlier in the year. So when you're factoring these, it's very simple actually. You're just taking the square root of each one of those numbers. Well, the square root of x squared is just xx, just like you've normally been doing when factoring. Well, what's the square root of 64? It's 8. Throw in a plus, throw in a minus, and you've got it factored. Always check though, and just double check and make sure, so FOIL it out. X squared, negative 8x, positive 8x, those cancel. 8 times negative 8, negative 64. X squared minus 64. So this one here, same thing. Okay, you've got perfect squares right there. Okay, total perfect squares. So square root of 9, 3x. Square root of 4, or square root of 9, 3x. Square root of 4, 2. Throw in a plus, throw in a minus, factored. It's as easy as that. Okay, this one here. Now you notice you're dealing with difference because of the minus in there. It's a binomial, so we're dealing with the difference of something. So I look. First thing you should always ask yourself, and no matter which one of these you're doing, can I factor something out? And that answer is yes. You can factor something out first. Take out a 5. So now we've got x squared minus, how many times does 5 go into 80? 16. Here, there's your difference of squares. So we got 5. Put down your 2 sets in parentheses. X, 4, 4, throw in a plus, slap down a minus, done. Okay, so again, notice what I did. I factored out my 5, and then I factored my difference of squares. Okay, then I factored my difference of squares. And again, always check it. And a lot of the times now, since we've done foiling so much, you can mental math it. Okay, a lot of times now you can mental math it. So this one here, again, we're dealing with perfect squares. Is there something, or we're dealing with a difference of squares factoring, is there something we can factor out of there? That should be always your first. So let's pull out a 2. So then we're left with 4y squared minus 25. From here, let's just factor the difference of squares. So we got our 2. What's the square root of 4y? 2y. 2y. What's the square root of 25? 5. 5. Throw in a plus, minus, factored. I think these are fun, actually. I love the difference of squares because they are simple factoring problems. Now, because I want to see if we can advance this a little bit, I'm dealing with a binomial. No, 2 is not a perfect square. I know that. So let's see how to factor that. Now notice on all of these, what did I do? I just took the square root of those. I'm going to do the same thing for this one. I am just going to take the square root of everything. Square root of 2, we just write it as square root of 2. Because it's not a perfect square, I'm just going to write it as a square root of 2. Throw in a plus, minus, done. Okay, let's do another one. X squared minus 3. Again, not perfect squares, but when you factor it, we're going to have an x, root 3, throw in a plus, minus, factored. So there is your difference of square trinomials. Okay, difference of squares, or difference of squares binomials. Okay, so this one here, perfect square trinomials. So I look, that is a perfect square. That is a perfect square. I know that 5 plus 5 gives me 10. So when I factor it, I would have a CC, 5, 5, plus, 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 plus. So now I'm just going to write it as C plus 5 squared. Done. This one here, 6 and 6. And 6 plus 6 gives me 12. H, 6, 6, plus, plus. Done. And then I rewrite it, because I have two pairs that are equal, as H plus 6 squared. This one here, just like I did with my perfect squares, or my difference of squares on the other side. Factor something out first. Okay, see they have a 2 in common. Let's factor a 2 out. So then I'm left with t squared minus 18t plus 2 goes into 162, 81 times. I know that 9 and 9 is 81. I know that 9 plus 9 or 9 minus 9 or negative 9 and negative 9 is 18. So minus plus, remember the rules? Minus, minus. So then I would write this as 2t minus 9 squared. Okay, so that's how we do our difference of squares, the two ones, the binomials, and our perfect square trinomials. And that's what we will be doing on today's lesson. That's what you guys will be factoring. Okay, so make sure you know everything is good to go. If you have any questions, please let me know on Google Classroom, or now you can message me here on YouTube if you have any questions. All right.